Thank you all for coming in on a Saturday. This is actually a really great turnout. It's a better turnout than we had last week in Grand Ronde in the Portland area. We've got probably at least 20, more than 20 Portland area members here in the audience today. Unfortunately, it looks like we only have 3 of the 9 candidates showing up today. I can't tell you how disappointed I am that is going to be the case. That is their choice. They've decided, I guess, to attend some other functions or do their campaign elsewhere. But this is an opportunity to meet Portland area resident members and have those members ask them questions. Obviously, some of the candidates have decided to not make themselves available. I think we should all take that into consideration when we're about to vote this September. But we do have 3 of the candidates, the 3 incumbents, have made the long drive up here to Portland. I want to thank them for being here. I want to thank all the Portland area tribal members for coming out. And we will spend some time here with these folks, give you an opportunity to ask them questions about issues that are important to our membership. As those of you know, we've done these same forums now for 10 years. These are the same dates we've always done them on for the last 8 years. So next year, I hope candidates will remember that we typically start on the Veterans Powwow weekend in Grand Ronde, the following weekend in Portland, and the subsequent weekend in Eugene. So next weekend on Saturday, we have our 3rd and final PAC forum, and I would encourage all candidates this year and in future years to schedule accordingly. These are really great opportunities for membership to get to know the candidates and to determine who they should be voting for. The PAC, like I did last week in Grand Ronde, just to describe the PAC, because we have some new faces in the audience, is a nonprofit volunteer organization. What we do is we volunteer our time and we raise money to pay for these events and to also pay for signs and mailings of 3 selected candidates. It's very expensive to run for council. It can cost upwards of $1,500 to have a single mailing. So we raise money by having every Oregonian's $50 use or lose tax credit. We try to bring those all together with our PAC members and then pay for a portion of those signs or mailings. Typically we raise around $3,500. It costs about $500 to host these events. The remaining $3,000 we split up among the 3 selected candidates. So we're able to typically subsidize candidates for about $1,000. And that goes a long ways because, like I said, it's very expensive to run for tribal council. So, that being said, we're probably going to shorten today from our typical 2.5, 3 hours, because normally we have a lot of candidates, maybe to just under an hour and a half or 2 hours. But I want to make sure we'll have plenty of time for everybody who has questions of the candidates to get their questions answered. Any questions at all from the candidates or from the audience about the PAC at today's forum? Okay. Seeing none, let's turn it over to the candidates here then. Chris, I'll have you move over to them and we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll kick us off with the first question, and I guess I had a different question in mind, but now seeing that we only have 3 candidates show up today, so I'm going to improvise a little bit. One of the challenges that the PAC is trying to overcome is the fact that our political process, there has only traditionally been 1 candidate forum in Grand Ronde that's been randomly selected questions that are only asked to 1 individual. And it's very difficult to actually have a sit down and understand and compare and contrast candidates. Would you all be supportive of the tribe revising its current political election process to allow for more opportunity for the candidates to be in front of tribal members and answer questions collectively? It's important that folks one-on-one can have that. They have that opportunity already. But what's important for people to see is those answers and to questions be public, so we all know where people stand on particular issues. So my first question would be, are you supportive of revising the tribe's electoral process to allow that? And then specifically, what would you propose to do to try to improve that ability of members to be able to interact with candidates? So Cheryl's going to go.
Thank you. And I want to thank you, Brian, for hosting this every year for as many years, for Chris for being the technician who's behind the seeing, making sure that this broadcast goes out to our members, and for all of our tribal members who attend. Really appreciate your commitment to seeing that the tribe is on the track that you see is the best path to be on. So I appreciate you being here and any questions that you might have. And to our elders, I see a number of elders out there as well, so thank you. Well, to answer the question about the challenge and whether or not there should be or could be more opportunity for candidates to present to our constituents, to our tribal members in the various areas. Yes, I support that. I think it's a good process. I think that the communities that we live in represent various groups of our tribe. We're from multiple different tribes, and so I do believe that it is a good way to get input from our members. One of the things that I would propose, we do have community meetings that we now host, and for them to become part of the community meetings that at this time include Portland, Eugene, and Grand Ronde, that we include these types of forums there. We also know that our population, our cluster populations of our members who live in Washington State around the Olympia, Seattle area. And I know in the past that we have gone there for community meetings, but it could be beneficial to host one of our tribal candidate forums there. The other area that we know has a concentration of people is in the upper California area, the Northern California, Roseburg, Grants Pass area. So it is something that I do support. I do think that the more outreach there are from tribal council, the more informed our tribal members can be. And it is a distance to travel. One of the things I recognized when termination happened, we had to scatter. We had to move to where our jobs were, to where we could be successful and raise our families. So I do support that. And it's a good question. Thank you.
It's good, Brenda.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. I would support that, and the reason why is, as you might remember, I ran for 5 times before I was elected, so I have participated in many of these forums. I believe at one point there were 19 of us at the Grand Ronde Forum, and we all got 2 questions. And I remember thinking, I would have a lot to say about that one particular question, but I'm not getting that. So I wondered about the other candidates and how they felt about it. Maybe they wanted to answer my question. So I would support a change. And I think how I would go about that is first, as Cheryle mentioned, promote that in our community meetings. And also I know at the same time there are a lot of tribal members who cannot come to the community meetings because of work or because of location. So I'd also like to possibly utilize our listserv, our new listserv, and formulate 1 or 2 questions, or just put it out there for our tribal members to send in their comments on how we might change it, and give several ideas, and then focus in on that. These forums are very, very important. As you might know, I'm very into increasing our tribal member engagement, and I believe right from the beginning these candidate forums and helping them decide how they're going to vote and who they're going to vote for, this is a good place to start.
Jon.
Slush Chisan, Nagachich, and Tillicum here, so thank you for all coming here and the opportunity to speak before you. It is an honor to do this, and I'm so honored to be here. And I am very supportive of the electoral process too, so yes I am. Thank you, Brian, for that question also. You know, we have to look at, I guess, in the ways that we could improve that, are ways that, like when we have our community meetings here, I do like the idea of expanding areas of the community meetings also, but also to maybe bring that up as an approach of an advisory vote too. That can be, how do you do it? Do we want a primary? You know, would we also like a primary? You know, to see how, you know, maybe where you kind of look down and seeing, okay, what do our members think of as choosing, you know, a good candidate that would sit in a leadership position of this tribe? You know, and so I'm not trying to, I don't want to kiss up or anything else too, but I think the PAC forums are so much more organized than even our own tribe process. I think, like Brenda said, you only get, by the time everybody answers a question, you only get like 2 questions upon that, and those are drawn out of a hat. I like this process where somebody can stand up and ask a question, we answer it, somebody else gets to stand up and ask a question, we answer it, you know, in that way, you know, because I think that we don't really want to feel restricted in like a time frame also. I mean, because I think it's important if our membership wants to continue in the meeting to say, well, I have another question. My question didn't get to be asked, you know, so that, you know, the time frame also is, you know, shouldn't be so restrictive, you know, upon us, you know, and I think one of the other parts too is for us to look out and say, we need people to be registered also. And I think to really promote registering to vote, you know, and I think when, like Brenda also mentioned, that for the reach out, to have people to register that aren't just in a local area, you know, but in other states or other countries or anything too, and feel that their importance, that their voice really does need to be heard, and how important it is for their services and the benefits and stuff of that. So I truly do look forward to supporting a different electoral process too upon this for our tribes. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, John. That answers everybody. All right, folks in the audience, this is your chance. What questions do you have for the candidates? I have some more if we don't have any.
I gave them a paper with 3 questions on it.
Okay.
They can pick which one they want. And I want to thank you, Brian and Chris, for setting this up every year for us. It's really, you know, a good interaction. We get to meet the candidates. We get to hear and listen to what they want to say. But I just want to thank you guys for doing this.
Appreciate it. Can I have those questions actually? I'll go ahead and read those out to you guys, and we'll get through all of them today. Sure. Does anybody else have a question? Or are you thinking of a question while I read Adrian's first one here? Okay. Here's the first question. Using everything you've learned about being on tribal council, the team you'll be working with and the tribe, how do you feel you'll make a contribution? Brenda.
That's a great question. That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. For me, finishing off my first term, I would say that tribal council is very diverse with so many amazing skills, and it's important to recognize the skills of each one, and then when it's someone's moment to shine, you push them out and you let them shine. You take the back seat, and then when it's your time to shine, you go ahead. So it's about mutual respect and support. I believe personally it's important to see our fellow tribal council members as human beings, not as objects or as opponents or those on the other side. It's really important to come to work with peace in your heart, and one of the most important skills I can think of is listening, the ability to listen to others, even if you may not agree with them. You never know what you're missing personally. You never know if you're getting narrow-minded or narrow-sighted. This council is working so well together right now. It's been a great year, very respectful, very professional, very encouraging others to think outside of their own little box. I do appreciate Cheryle as the chair. She's got a wonderful, wonderful way of teaching. You can state something from your heart and be 100% sure you're right, and Cheryle can so kindly give you the other side and make you think, and I appreciate that. That's what we need from our elders. We need our elders to share their knowledge and their wisdom in a kind way. We have to be able to listen to them. So what I believe that I can contribute to this council, if I were to be elected again, is I do show up. I'm there. I'm at the table. I'm willing to have those conversations, tough or easy. I'm willing to make those difficult decisions, and I am committed to professionalism, to kindness, to respect, because without those things, we're going to struggle to do any of the other things that we do or make the tough decisions we have to make.
Let's go next, Jon. Go ahead.
I'll go. All right. Well, thank you for the question. We really appreciate you. Just love you. So, but to be the team that you talked about in our contribution to tribal council, you know, for me, and you're probably going to hear the same things from us, you know, because I'm writing down answers and she's answering my, she's telling you everything I'm writing down at the same time, you know. But I will tell you, with today's current tribal council, you know, and we have two of our, so thank you for two of our tribal council coming here, Michael, and you, Denise Harvey too, so thank you so much for coming and supporting it. Oh, and that guy. You guys are going to make, I was going to, sorry, Kristen, I'm sorry. Behind the camera, but I didn't want him to get a big head. Thank you, Chris, also. You know, Mr. Vice Chair also, so we really appreciate it. So, okay, this is, I don't want to go into ditch here, so it's like, but I think what it is a joy to come to work today. Just knowing the people that you're going to sit around a table with, to have discussions that involve making very important decisions for all of our membership. Not just a few, not just certain families or anything else, but every single tribal member. That is what we sit there for. You know what? And I think I have always, from my first term of 6 years this year, that I knew that I would come to work every day and respect every one of those 8 other leaders that I sit at the table with. We may not agree all the time. You know, there may be agreements, there may be agreements to disagree. But I still at the end of the day, want people to feel that my character showed that I was respectful, that I was kind, that I was open to discussions, to change, you know. So in that part of working together, you know, that is something I think that I hopefully that I contribute to also be an example for our young ones, you know, for each other, you know, fortunately even some for our elders, to be an example, to be kind, because as we can see on Facebook, you know, it's unfortunately people who just don't like us, and they're going to voice their opinion. But I'm still okay. I wish blessings upon those people. I pray for those people, you know, that their hearts change, you know, that their scales are removed from their eyes to see, you know, it's such good work that this council is doing. But, you know, and it may be a few, but you know what? We still pray for them, you know. And so I'd just want people to know that's what we can bring to the table. And as we work together, as this team, and to contribute, that we have the word, and it's a word that we like to use, and we're using it currently too, is the fairness. We are looking at fairness for all of our tribal members, and that's what we want to portray. It's unfortunately we're going to be, disliked for some of the decisions that we make, but you know what? We have to do what's fair and what is right.
Thank you, Jon. Cheryle.
Thank you. I apologize, I didn't introduce myself first. I'm Cheryle Kennedy. I am running for tribal council for re-election, and I do appreciate your vote and support. And truly, if you have questions that you don't hear today, I'm open to dialoguing with you and to understand where you come from, so that we can enfold your way or your concerns into the way that we do business. So again, I'll go ahead. The question, I really appreciate the teamwork that goes on with tribal council. I can sit and say here that I sat through 20 years of different people and their different styles and what they bring to the table. Everyone has a lot of different things, and so at this senior council that is serving right now, it is a teamwork effort. I will say that. That it's been a very professional approach that the tribal council takes on, that there is respect at the table, and there's the ability to listen to our tribal fellow tribal councilmen. And again, on many issues we do not agree, and it's seen with the way that the ATPs, the authorities to proceed that are shared with tribal council now, you can see that there are differences, but that's okay. We know, and for me, the teamwork that I look at as well is you, the tribal members, because if we don't listen to what is near and dear to you and what's on your heart, we'd be somewhat of a dictatorship that is sitting on our tribal council and doing what we think is right for you. That real paternalistic attitude, and that's not something that I would like to see. So you're an important piece of it, and I thank you for being here today and asking questions. The other thing is that when we listen, then our job is to act. That's part of the teamwork. And I would be remiss in saying that there are advisory votes that are coming forward at the same time our election is, and that look at those issues carefully and cast your ballot. There are very important 3 issues that are there, and so I want you to take a look at them and to answer them. We will be holding a meeting here in Portland about that, so please come out for that meeting as well. So I guess the last thing that I would say is that relationship building is very important. To build a team doesn't just happen. There's a lot of practice that has to go into it. If you've ever played sports or you've been on any kind of team, there's respect for one another. There's encouragement. There's the pressure and the challenge that's also there, so that you can all succeed, and that it is the team effort. And the team is really the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. It's really our people. So I appreciate the question, Mike.
Thank you much. Before I go to Adrian's second question, anybody else have a question they'd like to ask the candidates? Go ahead.
We often hear, especially over the last year, that our members aren't engaged because our council meetings on Wednesday nights are not packed to capacity as they sometimes have been in the past few years. But I'm just curious because me as a council person sitting on council, our events are heavily attended today, much more than they were in the past. Our Elder Honor Day that we just had was heavily attended, I think, to the highest capacity that it had ever been. We have our youth council. We have our advisory votes now going on for the last 2 years with the election ballots. There's so many things that I see where our members are much more engaged and present, and even with our committees. I mean, in my 5 years of being on council, we rarely got applications for any of our committees. Now we're getting stacks of applications, and we're actually having to make a selection and a choice between them, and that's very different than what I saw in the past. I'm just curious to your thoughts and opinions on our membership and the engagement and how you're seeing it, and why do you think that is?
Great. So let me paraphrase the question. So I think the question is, what is your opinion of why we're seeing this uptick and increase in engagement in the community, while there's still some that think that there's not, because maybe the council, maybe it's a political process, is not as engaged? Great question. So, John, you want to go first? Let's have John, and then Brenda, and then Cheryle.
Alrighty. Yes, thank you, Denise, for the question on that. You know, for me, I think I'll go back on the question of maybe why some may not think the tribal members are not engaged. I look at that really as a lot of our council meetings, I think, are the ones that are not really engaged. Because I think what it is that people look for a platform on the camera to really disrespect the leadership that's sitting there today. You know, and nobody wants to go, I mean, I don't know, I don't think all of us, if we were going to be here and everybody just started arguing and fighting and everything else, I don't think people would want to come here. You know, who wants to sit through there? I think, for me, it's like PTSD. You know, I already grew up in an alcoholic, dysfunctional family with, you know, an abusive father, and everything else. I don't, that is not attractive, you know, to have to go and somebody yelling at their leadership and disrespecting them or trying to shame them. So too, that's not, you know, a way, I think, to feel like that's conducive to, you know, being honoring and respectful of, you know, your leadership, and so, but for the events, Denise, I think that is something I think that people feel like that a way to build community, you know, that they want to go. They really, for me, is that they're telling us as the leadership is that we would like something to do. You know, we would like to be involved in something, some activity or something to do with it. To me, it states that there's not enough to do in Grand Ronde or at the casino, you know, or places that they can go instead of just being home and the kids just being home playing video games. You know, they want to get out. You know, they want to engage in relationships, to have discussions, meet with your elders. And so those are the things that we are thinking of, in this sense of how do we engage, you know, even like our children with our elders, so that they can learn, you know, and to hear of the past, but also gives an opportunity for the elders to not be lonely and everything else too, and wondering and wishing that somebody would visit them or they could do something. So we've seen that the jam making classes, you know, are well attended also, so that they're contributing, you know, these activities about, so that in the end there's a result of something of like giving back, you know, or going together and learning. I'm thinking, because I seen Greg here, Greg Archuleta is here. I don't know if he's hiding in the background, but when I was a folk rehab specialist for 14 years, and when I came to Portland, I was the first employee hired outside of Grand Ronde in the Portland area, and so for 14 years we noticed the Portland community and stuff that they weren't connected. Some of them didn't even know their own families, and some of them had cousins sitting in the same classes. So Greg helped us to develop a cultural leadership program, you know, that brought the Portland community together, and where they could learn of their families, learn of their relatives and stuff too. So something in it, there was something that's contributing, and also a way to give back also. So thank you, Brian. I know you were going to.
Yeah, thanks, John. Let's go to Brenda.
So I'm always talking about tribal member engagement. In fact, I think it's probably going to be on my tombstone, working for tribal member engagement.
Hopefully not soon.
It's just so important to me. That's how we as tribal council work for the entire membership. We have to hear from you. We have to know. You have to vote. You have to comment on our ordinance changes. You really have to be involved. And I encourage that because I want a bright future for the tribe. I want my grandkids when they're 70 to read about the tribe and say, wow, Grand Ronde did this. This is how Grand Ronde took care of their people. So I get pretty jazzed about the tribal engagement piece. But I think I've heard from the younger generations, I've heard from elders, they don't want drama anymore. They just, it's nerve-wracking, it's unsettling. So I think that they are shying away from those places where the drama happens. And unfortunately, it tends to happen at the tribal council meetings. So they're going away to other areas where it's community building and peacemaking. They're going to the community garden. They're going to First Foods. They're going to family night out. They're going to these places where the politics can be pushed into the background, and we can be people, we can be humans, we can love each other and treat each other well. So I do believe that tribal member engagement is increasing. I still think we can do better. And one of the ways that I'm really hoping for, and I kind of keep talking about it, is I really want tribal members to be more engaged in the voting process. And so I feel like it's tribal council's responsibility to reach out to them. And whatever way that is, I want to find a way that interests them. I want just a little spark that says, oh, that's my tribe, oh, that's what we did, oh, that's part of our history. So I'd really like to see some kind of educational piece, maybe short blurbs or one-pagers that share some history of the tribe, or something about an elder, or the major events in the tribe. I'd really like to see that. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. Sure.
Thank you for the question, Denise. I guess the real obvious question too, as you know, I've been at Grand Ronde from before Restoration and through all of to the almost 35 years now, and so from the very beginning there was just a handful of tribal members, and very few lived at Grand Ronde. And as a matter of fact, they're probably the least pocket of population. So through the 35 years, that's really changed. We now, right at Grand Ronde, have probably close to 1,000 members who live there. In the beginning, some of the first needs assessments, the majority of our members lived outside of Oregon. And so as that's turning around, more people are coming back home, and more are finding work, and the economy has changed. So a lot of things have changed. So there are more people who are attending the functions because there's a place to live at Grand Ronde. There didn't used to be any at all. And the community was old, and there was no housing that had been built from like the 40s up until the 80s. So there was no place to move. So that's just the natural kind of thing that takes place, is there are more people there, so there's more people who do come out to functions. But on the other side, I do believe that there is a bigger effort to hold forums or community gatherings, and we have land there so we can have a community garden, and we have facilities that you can come into. So a lot of it has to do with the number of people that live there, the finances that are available, that we invest into building a nation. We have to remember that before 1983, we were not a nation. We're only almost 35 years old. So we're a very young nation. As far as age, we're in adulthood as a nation if we were a person. So I do think that some of those norms are integrated into how we develop and what happens. I'm very pleased at what I see at Grand Ronde, and I can see that I can remember going to a veterans powwow probably only 15, 20 years ago or so, and there are 5 people out there in the audience, sitting. That's all. And now we can go and we can enjoy and see not only our members, but veterans from all over the United States come and celebrate, and as we honor them. So I do think that there are a number of factors. It is because we do have revenues. It is because I believe we're a hospitable people, that we open up our hearts and our lives to folks, and they feel the welcome and they return. And I know that there are more of our members who live there who have also decided, this is my community, and I'm going to be part of it. I'm going to participate. So, you know, as far as tribal council, I'm glad that we do have funds, that we can make things available, and hopefully we can embrace the people that come so they want to come back.
Cheryle.